So Penetration, Indigo Swan. You've read it, Ben. I don't know. Have you read? Have you heard of it or read it, Chris?
I've heard about it. I've not read it.
Yeah. So
No.
I'm about halfway through it. And it's I don't know whether it's real. I get the vibe that it is. I do strongly get the vibe that what he's saying is the truth, but obviously I don't know whether it's real or whether he's just out of his mind making shit up. But it does feel real, and it obviously it alludes to some very strange things happening on the moon. And Ben, would you care to elaborate without dishing out a shit ton of spoilers?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, he talks about strange things on the Earth as well. I mean, basically, he is essentially speaking about something that he was involved in. That he was a remote viewer for the CIA, along with several other people, including Uri Geller, in the early 1970s. And he describes some of the things he was meant to spy on. Of course, you're not going to get official confirmation from the government, even though we know that the project he was in took place. We know that Hal Puthoff was very much involved in it. Who's today with the Stars Academy.
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, Hal Puthoff his fingerprints are all over this shit, from Uri Geller right through Ingo Swan, and now he's balls deep in fucking the To the Stars shit.
Yeah, I mean this is something.
This is very fucking shady to me, dude.
It is something we need to be wary of.
Exactly.
I think but I won't give any spoilers, obviously, but Swan talks about some pretty disturbing things. I mean, the artifacts in space, of course, but also places on the Earth where I don't know if you got to that bit in the book yet, but he describes
I have not.
a place on the Earth where human experimentation is going on. He says it's not in the United States, but he refused to name which country it was.
Yeah.
But he says there is a country which is carrying out human experimentation on non-consensual citizens.
Well, the stuff that he describes on the moon was pretty fucking mind-blowing. The shit, the structures, the buildings, the people living there and working there. And the whole Axelrod thing I found completely intriguing and totally fascinating.
And what's interesting is there is independent reports of strange objects on the moon.
Yes.
During the Disclosure Project press conference, Donna Hare and Carl Wolf were the two witnesses who worked for NASA, and they said that they had both seen photographs that had been. These are photographs before they were edited, before they were published, before released to the media. They're taken by various unmanned probes in the pre-Apollo era. And there were objects. It was all on the dark side of the moon, facing away from the Earth.
Right.
But there were objects there which couldn't be seen from the Earth, but were definitely artificial.
Something that I found very interesting, what he said, what he's talking about, remote viewing the moon. Well, I should let listeners know, if they haven't read the book, and maybe after listening to us yap about it, they'll go out and grab a copy. But because he's remote viewing blind. When someone remote views, they don't necessarily know what the target is. They're just given a set of coordinates, and then they do their business and they start remote viewing that area. And it was the same with the moon. They gave him a specific set of coordinates in relation to the Earth, the planets, and all that stuff. So he knew he was going to be in space, but he didn't know where or what he was going to be doing. And he's initially confused because he starts remote viewing and he says, well, I can see buildings and I see people and I see this can't be the moon. This is something else. We're on Earth, right? This must be Earth. But it turns out to be the moon. But one of the things I found very interesting is that he said that it's as if there's some kind of signal or something that forces humans generally to ignore the sky and or the moon. Because when you think about it, this huge body is just hanging there above our heads every night, this ginormous lump of rock, and 99.999 on and on people on planet Earth completely, totally, and utterly ignore it.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot to distract us down on Earth, haven't we? And we have also most of us live in cities where the light is so bright that you can't really see much of the sky. I mean, have you ever been out into the countryside and looked at the sky there at night?
Yeah.
See how different it is. I say to anyone, please, if you've not done this, please try it. Just just switch off the car headlights and just look up at the sky on a clear night, and the star. You wouldn't believe the difference being away from city lights makes.
I remember many years ago we were driving to Las Vegas at night, and I really had to take a piss bad, and we were on there was nobody there. We were in the road, and I pulled over, and I got out, and I ran to the side of the road, and I took a leak. And I was just looking up, and it's fucking. Your head will explode. The shit that you can see, it's so clear, and you can see the Milky Way. You can see, it's amazing. You know, but like I said earlier, even though there's this glorious view above our heads, right, with no light pollution, no clouds, just clear night sky. Why aren't people looking up at it? I mean, had I not stopped to take a leak, I wouldn't have looked.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's part of the mind control, I think.
And he alludes to that. I mean, he doesn't outright say it.
He was an insider. He was an insider.
Yeah.
I mean, the project, you see, it was proved. I mean, Puthoff and Targ did publish some of their experiments they did for the Stanford Research Institute before basically it was taken over by the CIA. And that was where the driving experiment they did, where they used to drive to random locations, and the remote viewer would tell them where they were, and they were very, very accurate.
Yes.
There was this incident where they described, for instance, a place they went to, and this is completely random, and they described it very accurately, and so they knew something was up. And indeed, the skeptics say it was all nonsense like that. Ray Hyman said, it was all rubbish, they were just idiots, and they were fooling themselves. How come the CIA then took it over and it went and gave it a black budget?
Exactly.